Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. It's your host Akshat, and today's episode is going to be an exciting deep dive into the world of prompt engineering, Gen AI, and LLMs. We have got a fantastic guest lined up for you today. We have Lee from Microsoft with us. Let's get started and hear from Lee himself. So, Lee, how did you get into generative AI, and do tell us about how you started with AI and your professional journey as a whole?
Yeah, I got started making games. So I made a few AI opponents and they kind of got more and more complicated. I made a word game called Word Smashing. And then I made a game called Big Multiplayer Chess, where you've got four different chess opponents. And the AI was just all very simple, kind of a weighting of how much each different kind of rule that I made up is going to affect, like, the move. So, how many times can you take yourself, or how much movement do you have in the chessboard? So that I was getting really into AI before it was deep learning. Really, that was a long time ago. But when it was kind of rule-based systems and reinforcement learning or self-play, and then I got into AI even further through work when I was working at Weather Effects on these big budget Hollywood films like Avatar 2 and Avengers. And then I worked on the kind of platforms that supported the artists. So I worked at Canva for a while, doing style transfer and background removal. And then I joined a very small kind of startup called Compose AI. So like an AI assistant that helps you as you write, predicts what you write.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's kind of my main journey into running my own startup after that. I tried my hand at creating a few AI tools like text generator IO, which runs an API that lets people change out open AI and talk to vision language models that can kind of describe the world, talk about which design could be best, or read out receipts to you. And started running an AI social network where you can talk to different AI characters and create art together, and an art generator as well. So I'm kind of looking at how to combine these different AI systems. Text generator IO could kind of combine vision and language, and some of the some traditional kind of tricks as well, like using OCR just to read out the text in an image, and then kind of use that as a prompt.
Yeah.
To see if you can, that there's already pretty good traditional OCR networks like Tesseract out there that can quite easily do an okay job at reading some parts of an image. Same with image captioning. So I was kind of combining things like that. Like I kind of combined text to speech and speech to text, so that you can speak to the language model, and it can speak back to you. And that's all kind of quite commonplace technology now. It's quite a competitive landscape to be working in. Yeah, very interesting one, very fast moving. It's been good and bad. So the pricing has probably dropped 10 times from OpenAI, which was one of my competitors.
Okay.
And I've had to keep up with the fast pace of innovation, really. So the pricing's had to be really good, but also sometimes there'll be a point where I can drop a new AI model will be released, and that's working 10 times better or faster, and then that's like a really easy big win for your AI startup. So staying up to date's kind of a double-edged sword, really, good and bad. But it's a very interesting space, I think. I'm glad to be along for the ride.
Okay. So you mentioned about prompt, like writing prompts, optimizing cost. So in your experience, how do you balance, prompt engineering and LLM fine tuning?
I always advise people to go for prompt engineering first. So
Okay.
we even released a project from Microsoft recently called LLM Lingua, where we're using large language models to compress the prompt.
Okay.
A lot of the time, it's prompt engineering itself is kind of not obvious, and there can be kind of strange bugs. Like, for example, the process of kind of using large language models, the very first step is tokenization. So
Okay.
it'll take a word and then convert it into a number. And there can be a lot of confusing kind of issues with token word boundaries. So like a partial word that might get put into a strange token, or if you've got like multiple spaces,
Yeah.
or capitalization is important, so that if things are tokenized strangely or with the misspelling, they can that kind of thing can easily throw people off. So it can feel like it can be easy to get the idea that you can't get things working with prompt engineering and that you need to do more advanced stuff. But if you spend a lot more time on the prompt engineering, you can be surprised at the types of things that really large language models can do. Like,
Okay.
you can kind of spend a lot of time on like mapping your problem to the types of problems that large language models have got really good at solving now. So like, GPT-4 is, really good at English language, and it's really good at things like some languages. Like I like to use Python because it's a very widely available language that's in a lot of the training data sets. And it's quite terse as well. There's not too many tokens. It's kind of harder to generate long, more verbose languages like Java. But yeah, prompt engineering is quite. Definitely I recommend trying first, because training can be quite hard.
Yeah.
And by hard, I mean like when there's a lot of like strange oddities that can happen while training. Like sometimes you train a model and then you realize that you can't do inference in half precision. Like it has some kind of gradient explosion. Like when you try to compress the model into like a lower floating point, that sometimes the activations going through the network will just cause like large numbers to be calculated, and those large numbers won't fit into low precision.
Yeah.
You can kind of use binary float 16 or some quantization strategy that is less likely for that to happen, but it's still like early days for research about how to stop this kind of thing. Like a lot of the time you just have like detection and then restart from some earlier point in time training. It's surprising how many kind of guardrails you need when you're training these large language models. And it also takes a long time as well. Like, it can take a week or so to train like 14 gigabyte 14 billion parameter model. If you're doing on one machine, it can take quite a while. And then it's not clear how long you should train it as well, because there is a point where it can become overtrained and it can just start kind of regurgitating training data. Like it will and it kind of depends on your problem domain how bad that is, really. Are you do you really not want people seeing your training data? Have you got like personal information in there that you don't want kind of cross you don't want that to be regenerated, or you're just fine with or maybe overfitting is kind of the goal. Like at Compose AI, we were kind of overfitting these models to people so that they would be able to write like them. But we wouldn't share these models between people, because then there were basically the model itself was then considered kind of almost private, or private to a person.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, so we have established like it is like prompt engineering is, better than or should be the first approach. We'll not go into better,
Mm.
but it should be the first approach before LLM fine tuning, because of the issues
Yeah.
with the fine tuning you just mentioned. But
Mm.
moving to prompt engineering, like what are the key uh, challenges that you have faced like while doing prompt engineering? Like
Yeah.
stories would
Collect.
be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Retrieval has been a big one. Like you can go, I think, quite a long way with
Okay.
the old kind of types of retrieval. There's kind of a hierarchy of the traditional kind of search
Mm-hmm.
engines. Still quite useful and they're quite fast. Like the kind of the Google style like PageRank or the TF-IDF, the kind of uh, you know kind of weights this the search by the document frequency, how likely that something is. If it's very very rare in the corpus, but you're searching for it, then it's like it ranks high, and
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of use these retrieval methods to find the relevant parts of uh, tokens, like what's some added information you need in your prompt. And that was kind of a first step, I guess, as well for us at Compose AI. Before you want to try fine tuning, you would like to try retrieval, try and kind of capture all the data that you might need. Gather what what your user is doing and what do they normally talk about, to make a good inference about them. So gathering the relevant data is
Mm-hmm.
it kind of depends how much how hard to obtain is that data going to be. Is it
Okay.
a lot? There is a lot of data that just appears in large language models that you don't need to provide, but
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of fix it on the output pass as well. You can kind of you know you can call everyone Sally and Dave, and then you can kind of rewrite the names as they come out to kind of do some kind of privacy preservation or just making sure that the AI is getting the names right.
Yeah.
Um,
And,
yeah.
when we are doing prompt engineering, like how do you go and select the models? Like for your use case or the idea
Mm,
which you have, like what is the best way to select the model?
yeah, I'm a big fan of like really talking to your customers a lot,
Okay.
and like really understanding the use case people are having. Like I um I run this AI social network, and I
Mm-hmm.
do just check in on people in every way I can. So including like just actually looking at what people are doing, taking a sample of how people are trying to use the app,
Mm-hmm.
and to really understand. So I did find on my social network there was a lot of people hitting into like the content filters with OpenAI models when I was using those. So I had to replace those out actually and change them out for some of these new open source models that have less restrictions on how
Okay.
people use them, like the mixture of experts 8x is actually kind of one of the main models I'm using right now for people talking to AI, because it's still quite still performing quite well, but it can also talk about the kinds of topics people would normally get blocked for talking about
Yeah.
with OpenAI or Palm, the kind of like the big company language models.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they block many of those questions and those
Yeah,
they
yeah,
censor a lot actually. Yeah.
yeah. Even kind of between products, like if you look at, like I pay for GitHub Copilot, which is like quite good, and
Yeah.
you can't actually ask GitHub Copilot to write you a story or something like that. They kind of block in different directions, like to make sure people are kind of using it for what they intended it to be used for. But yeah, the open source movement is really powerful. It's still quite a good place to think about using open source models. There's companies that are providing pretty cheap text generation. Now I'm using Open Router and Together AI. There's also OctoML. They're all, I run one text generator IO as well, and I'm kind of doing an unlimited plan as well for text generation. It's getting quite affordable.
So what?
I definitely have a lot of fallbacks as well. So I've got a lot of different models that I could use, and if one fails or creates odd output, I kind of use some other one.
So which do you suggest? Like if somebody like you are trying on the side, as a side hustle, like what is the framework like you suggest? Like you mentioned Together AI.
Yeah, I've been creating my own with Python because I've got some of the kind of the data science skill set, so I can do some of the pre-processing using like the old-ish tools like NLTK or Spacey to kind of understand like the sentences, and you might want to, if your context gets too big, if you send a prompt that's too big, you can cut it into sentences and take the middle. Normally middle out is quite common, to just remove all of the middle sentences. So that kind of Python lends itself quite well because of having good libraries to doing that kind of pre and post processing. And they kind of use a lot of different model providers. It's kind of I call it a race to the bottom right now in terms of pricing. Open Router is quite good. They've even got some models for free on there.
Okay.
And like GPT-4 is still the best. Like it's, if you want something that codes really well, it's still good too.
Okay. And like once we are doing prompt engineering, one of the major challenges I've heard from many people is like evaluation. Okay. How do you evaluate generated output text from LLMs?
Yeah, we would Compose AI. We would just have like big spreadsheets. Really, we'd have all of our data that for all of our typing, and then we kind of have like this. If you can imagine this big spreadsheet of the thing that you predicted and the thing that you expected to predict, and you can kind of start computing some metrics on how close you're getting, how many how many average letters are you getting correct for autocomplete. And then we tried all sorts of experiments to see, try different generation strategies, and there's a lot of different ways you can generate text now as well. Like some of the weird new ones where you can use like multiple language models, like the mixture of experts, or speculative decoding, where you've got a small language model generating some and a large one that's that's kind of confirming these plans, seeing if they're actually correct. But there's a lot of experimentation you should be doing, and then it's good to have some kind of success metric that aligns with what your business actually wants, like what's really going to make your business bottom line get better, and then you kind of I guess do all the experiments with the goal in mind of kind of moving your metric.
But many of those methods use human evaluation actually. Like you have to sit down and they made any automation framework as well, like
I have been using like PyTorch a lot. But it can be a bit hard to kind of write like neural loss functions, so you have to make sure everything's differentiable. So everything's instead of like a hard cutoffs, have like soft max, and like everything's trying to get things right on that level. It's kind of hard though, because even if you create quite a good loss function,
Okay.
it can be hard to know if that's really going to give you the accuracy,
Mm-hmm.
the accuracy boost or the generalization boost.
Yeah.
So yeah, training is quite challenging, but yeah, there's still a lot of stuff we can do to train better. I know OpenAI's got some prize money for people who want to apply. That they're doing research for how can I train a really huge model? I have a really good small model, but how can I somehow apply the weights of the small model to train the larger model?
Okay.
So that's a really a big new research area when kind of like student and teacher learning, where the student is actually way bigger. How are we going to scale up to really like AGI level?
Yeah. Yeah.
Super large language models.
Okay.
But that's kind of they're kind of making progress there. I was thinking of some kind of ways, like with I think eventually we'll have AI that's kind of running the training itself. Like they'll do an AI that's kind of scheduling the actual
Yeah. Like
the
maintaining
training
itself.
data. What's the order of the training data? We've got like in a school, you teach kids like basic maths and then more advanced maths. So,
Yeah.
you should have some kind of similar schedule where you're kind of actually building the knowledge.
Yeah.
Um,
Keep on building on top of it.
yeah, so it kind of needs like AI to set out a training plan for another AI, like train it this hard, and then and then fix, I don't know, freeze some of the end of the model and train some adapters or something, some low rank adaptation. It's not really clear how many expert models we need. All of the hyperparameters really should be kind of optimizable by AI itself. Really, most of the time we're just experimenting with models. I know Eric Hartford equated it to like a genetic algorithm, like ourselves as researchers in open source. We're just like picking the best models that other people have been working on, and then combining something else from another one of maybe the second best model that we saw, and then training that and seeing what happens. So it's kind of it's a human in the loop right now, but yeah, I think eventually with coding as well, with AI being able to code, I think that might come into play as well, where you kind of need like an actual codified plan of how to train.
Yeah. And like moving to production, like what are the different, steps one should keep in mind while in production? Like, and how do you track performance in production?
Yeah, I think they like having that metric that matters to your business, or some set of metrics is
Okay.
always good. Like, there's like all the standard ones that we know from software engineering, where you've got like latency, how fast things are, and error rates, and we need all of those.
Okay.
But then I guess the quality becomes subjective in the machine learning world. So it's good to build a product where you have some kind of a human in the loop feedback, like that can give you better information about how well you're doing. Like when we were doing background removal, we designed like a multi-step process. So we just first try to remove the background, and then the user could click accept or not. And if they don't click accept, they can kind of brush in and out what part of the image that we got right or wrong, and they can retry, and then it will shrink that region to kind of have another go at trying to get a really good cutout. So like that in and of itself gives you a more pristine data set that comes out at the end of that process. So we can then potentially retrain a model on that. So like designing a product that has like the kind of the entire retraining loop, and it's becoming more important as we are able to train much
Yeah.
stronger models. Yeah, because it can be, the AI world can move quite quickly. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
And like, how do you ensure you are up to date with this? Like, this is a fast moving field, and how do you keep yourself updated?
Yeah, I do check Hacker News as well. I use like a Hacker News reader because I think people found Hacker News not to be readable enough. So I use HCKR News, which kind
Mm-hmm.
of orders it by time and picks only the top from Hacker News. And I'm on Twitter and Reddit as well sometimes. And there's even like some Discord groups like for visual AI. There's
Okay.
there's some that I'm kind of following. Like,
Okay. And like, what
yeah.
kind of a skill set one should learn to be a part of an AI team in today's scenario? Any tools or courses that you will recommend?
Yeah, I originally got into it through. I also got, just for my own passion with games, but and AI there. But also, I did take a Coursera course from Andrew Ng, so the
Yeah.
Stanford guy who founded Coursera. He has
Mm-hmm.
a really good one. So Jeremy has one from Fast AI. Yeah, and then he's doing one about like how to make kind of fast use of the GPU. I think
Okay.
GPUs are becoming really important, and
Yes, yes.
knowing how we can leverage them, how we can compile kind of the old tools, how are they going to be able to be compiled into these really fast and really parallel systems.
I think I'm done with my questions. So, any parting thoughts for the audience? Anything you would like to say?
Yeah, thanks for being interested in the
Alright.
yeah, love to
Yeah.
chat more with
Uh,
anyone. You can reach out to me at
yeah.
Lee Pinkman on Twitter or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all for today, folks. Hope you loved listening to Lee and had great insights from this episode. Please leave your questions in the comments and we will reach out to Lee to answer those for you. Thanks for listening.